Sometimes, no matter how much we yearn for something, or how much we fight for our dreams, or how many steps we take to find them, we find ourselves back to square one. Because maybe sometimes dreams are not meant to be fulfilled. And maybe sometimes we are the very people that ensure our dreams never come true. Because maybe the world was never built for us to reach these goals in the first place. Hello, my gorgeous viewers and readers. Welcome back or welcome to my channel if you're new here. I hope your weekend was filled with cozy blankets, sweet treats, and the devastating feeling that you are the one sabotaging your own dreams. For the past few weeks, I've been feeling stuck. No matter how much I work or how much effort I put into my goals, I cannot seem to reach them. It almost seems as if there is a wall between me and the things I want. And this only makes me wonder, are my goals really unreachable, or am I simply not doing enough? And while I was spiraling in this very question, I accidentally picked up Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck, and it made me realize something very deeply uncomfortable. And it's that George and Lennie, these two characters from this book, are not lazy. They are not unmotivated. They are trapped. And maybe so are we. Of Mice and Men tells the story of George and Lennie, who are two physical workers living through the Great Depression in California. They travel from ranch to ranch in order to look for work, but they share one dream, which is that one day they will own their own farm. They will be independent, they will work and live for themselves, and they will have the perfect farm that they have always dreamed of. The thing here is that Lennie, even though he is incredibly strong, he's also mentally disabled and relies on George for survival. And George, in turn, he becomes Lennie's caregiver, and he carries the emotional and practical burden of protecting Lennie from a world that does not understand him. They arrive at a new ranch where they meet deeply lonely people, characters who are terrified of being useless or not needed anymore, or characters who are deeply isolated by things like racism and misogyny. And every single character in this novella has a dream of a better life, a dream of being someone, or a hope that one day things will change. So living in this ranch feels like a cruel joke, because even though everyone has a dream, no one is actually fulfilling it. For example, in the book, George and Lennie work non-stop. They travel miles for jobs, right? They do everything they can to keep this job or to keep just getting this affluence of money, right? They don't drink, they don't gamble, they save every penny, and yet they are still one accident away from losing everything, right? Because at the end of the day, poverty is not just lack of money, it's lack of margin of error, right? One accident, one bad day, one mistake, and everything is gone. They lose absolutely everything. This is why their dream feels so fragile or so distant, so unrealistic. And that is exactly how I feel, right? Because I work full time, I create content on my free time, I read, I write, I plan, I dream, and yet I never feel closer to my goals. I never feel like I have done a step. Because the system is not built for you to work on your dreams. It is built to extract all your energy and make you feel like dreaming is exhausting. Just like Candy, just like George, just like Lennie in the book, right? Or any single man in this novella that says, I once had a dream. And that is exactly how society is right now, especially if you are a minority, if you are neurodivergent, or if you are a woman, or if you are a person of color, your dreams will be impossible for you to reach. And that is exactly what makes us lonely, actually lonelier than ever, right? Because if you are watching people accomplish their goals or being successful and you are the only one that stays behind, that isolates you from society and that makes you feel like an outcast. This is just like one of the most important lines of the book that comes directly from the character Crooks. And the line is, a guy goes nuts if he ain't got nobody. And to me, this sentence perfectly represents what we're seeing in society right now, right? Because Crooks here, he says that a man will go literally crazy if he feels lonely or he feels like he's an outcast, right? And what do people do when they feel loneliness, when they feel like they do not belong? They drink, they consume drugs, they fight, they gamble, they do anything in their power not to feel this way, right? They become hedonistic. Hedonism becomes the only relief when we feel our life is pointless. And that is painfully modern, because what happens when we feel as if everything that we are working on has no success or we see no results from all our efforts? We don't work harder. We instead burn out, or we scroll on TikTok for hours, or we binge eat, or we tell ourselves excuses like we'll start tomorrow, right? Because at the end of the day, the effort and the pain of just trying and failing feels too heavy. And just like the ranch workers, we fall onto a cycle of hedonism that is slowly killing our ambition away. These are cycles of comfort that keep us away from responsibility. And that's why George's tragedy is not Lennie, right? George's tragedy is actually responsibility, because he feels like he's responsible of Lennie. He cannot live freely. He cannot just do whatever he wants, right? He has to think about Lennie. This is why he cannot fulfill his dreams, because he's constantly managing survival. And this is where this book becomes deeply symbolic. Because many of us feel like George, we are taking care of life, work, bills, responsibilities, mental health, all incredibly important, but also incredibly valid and necessary, right? But these things take the same exact energy that we need to fulfill our dreams. So at the end of the day, the things that keep us alive are the same things preventing us from actually living. So at the end of the day, George doesn't fail because he's lazy. He fails because he is tired, because he lives in a system where survival leaves no room for dreaming. And at the end of the day, the kindest thing that he can do for himself is actually killing the dream. The most haunting part of this book is the fact that George's and Lennie's dream wasn't even that ridiculous. It was literally a small farm with a few animals and independence. That is not luxury, that is dignity. And even that dream was unreachable. Which this forces us to confront a terrifying thought. Maybe the dreams we have are not impossible because we are failing, but maybe the world we live in is actually not built for ordinary people to reach their goals. Maybe the system requires for most of us to stay exactly where we are, dreaming and hoping, working, but never arriving. And maybe the reason why we feel like we are sabotaging ourselves is because deep down we understand, or we know how fragile our dreams are, just like George knew, like Crooks knew, or like Candy knew. And maybe the bravest thing that we can do is keep dreaming anyway, even if the world mocks at us for it. That's all for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and you liked my take on Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck. And if you have read this book, please make sure that you put down in the comments what you thought of it, or if you have any other thing to add to my review. Obviously, I think I have missed quite a lot, but yeah, just make sure that you put it in the comments so we can debate. And before you leave, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, but you can also follow me on my social media. I post there every day. But yeah, thank you again for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.